Hello and welcome to the midday update on the COVID-19 response here in St. Lucia. We have a release coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. A team was dispatched in Miku North, I believe it was, and of course this created quite a bit of a stir when videos were being circulated on social media and persons were concerned about what was going on in Miku North. To the extent that we got a statement being made by the constituency representative, the Honorable Minister Dr. Gail Rigobert, this morning, giving her assurances and imploring to her constituents, that things will be all right, and just to quell any concerns or fears with the increased presence of first responders in that community. The information that we're getting from the Ministry of Health and Wellness is that this dispatched team was sent due to the 18th case being recorded. The individual in question lives in that area, works in that area, and as a result, a team was dispatched to that person's residence and that person's workplace in order to conduct the normal protocol of contact tracing, trying to find all the individuals who have been in contact with the confirmed case. We're getting word from the Ministry of Health and Wellness that the individuals are now being assessed. We hear now from the National Epidemiologist, Dr. Michelle Fassois. Take a look.
These individuals will be assessed based on their level of risk and their level of exposure, and a determination will be made as to how best to proceed with these individuals. Persons who have been exposed and are at high level risk, these individuals, an assessment is made of their homes to determine whether it is possible to remain at home in quarantine or whether these individuals should be quarantined at an isolation facility or our quarantine facility. The teams are working on the ground as we speak. Individuals have been contacted, individuals have been brought in based on the level of assessment. These individuals have been brought in so that they can be very closely monitored by our health team.
Word there from the National Epidemiologist, Dr. Michelle Fassois, just allaying concerns with regard to the increased presence of first responders in the district, the constituency of Miku North. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is stressing that no new cases have since been confirmed since the 18th case that was announced earlier this week. However, measures are being taken to monitor those exposed to the latest case, which is the 18th case. No new cases have since been confirmed. Take a listen.
These individuals are not confirmed cases of COVID, but as per our protocol, they have to be monitored until proven otherwise. This is one of our measures and the measures taken worldwide to break the transmission chain and to ensure that COVID does not spread into the community. So the Ministry of Health and Wellness would like to reiterate that these cases, these persons who have been brought in are only for monitoring. We are following up these individuals. It is part of our normal and standard procedure where we assess individuals based on their level of contact, on their level of exposure. And if they are not able to remain at home within the community for follow-up, then they are taken to our facility where they can be monitored by the medical staff there.
And that was word there from Dr. Michelle Fassois. The latest update from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, allaying concerns and any alarm due to the circulation of certain videos and rumors on social media and otherwise with regard to the increased presence of first responders in the Miku North area. The statement there coming from the Epidemiology Unit is that a team has been dispatched to the residence and workplace of the latest case of COVID-19 in St. Lucia. In continuing with the updates for this afternoon, the midday update, we now hear from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force on the recent law enforcement details in the last fortnight or so. In studio with me is Miss and Joseph, Acting Corporal and Joseph from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force Public Relations Team. Good afternoon, Corporal.
Good afternoon, Miss Leo. It's a pleasure being here again with you.
Thank you.
Today we're going to do as we did previously. We're going to give a breakdown of the week, starting from the 28th of April to yesterday's date. As you know, we continue to have the border control. The officers are stationed in the ancillary canneries area as well as the deanery area. On the 28th of April 2020, at the Western checkpoint, we had a total of 268 vehicles processed, and on that day, one male was actually arrested for violation of the curfew order. On the 28th in Grosselie, we had 3 individuals being arrested after a search of a residence in Vieux-Quay, Grosselie. Officers recovered a barrel of a 12-gauge shotgun, 2 rounds of 12-gauge ammunition, and a quantity of controlled drugs. The 3 individuals, namely Charmaine Lionel, Ignatius Isidore, Danith Lionel, were all charged for possession of possession of a firearm and ammunition without a valid license, as well as possession of controlled drugs and possession of controlled drugs with intent to supply. They've been remanded in custody until the 21st of May 2020. On the 29th of April 2020, the Deanery checkpoint processed a total of 1,264 vehicles. On that same day, the ancillary canneries checkpoint processed a total of 270 vehicles. On the 29th, we also had another operation in the Grosselie area where officers attached to the Grosselie police station, conducted a search of a residence in Sarot, and they were able to recover 1 Smith & Wesson pistol with 7 rounds of ammunition. In custody were Neve Hippolyte, Jamal James, and Janik Mann. All 3 have been charged for possession of ammunition and firearm without a valid license, and they have also been remanded into custody until the 19th of May 2020. On the 30th of April 2020, at the Canneries Ancillary Checkpoint, we had a total of 515 vehicles being processed. At the Deanery Checkpoint, we had 893 vehicles being processed on that same day. On the 1st of May 2020, which was the holiday, we had a total of 166 vehicles being processed at the Western Checkpoint. On the East, we had 756 vehicles being processed. We also had on that same day, 2 individuals were arrested in the Vieux Fort North area by our extraction team for having illegally entered the country. These individuals are currently in quarantine. We have on the 2nd of May 2020, the Western Checkpoint processed a total of 100 motor vehicles, and on the East we had 914 vehicles being processed. On the 2nd of May, the Criminal Investigations Department in Castries arrested and cautioned 16 persons for breaking the curfew order. These individuals were released after the caution was issued. On the 3rd of May 2020, at the Western Checkpoint, we had a total of 128 motor vehicles being processed. On that day, we also had the Ancillary Police Station arresting a total of 50 individuals for violating the curfew order. More specifically, they were having a river lime near a water catchment area in Ancillary. The officers cautioned and released the 50 persons pending further investigations. The age group, it was observed, of those persons ranged from a child is anyone below the age of 12 years up until 51 years. So we had from under 12 to 51. The largest concentration we observed in age range was from 17 to 25. So we had a very large group of young persons being arrested on that day. The Ancillary Police Station also had 2 other individuals arrested on the 3rd of May 2020 in an unrelated incident for also violating the curfew order. Okay. On the 3rd of May 2020 at the Deanery checkpoint, we had a total of 680 vehicles being processed. On the 4th of May 2020, At the western checkpoint, we had 376 vehicles being processed. And at the east, 1,402 vehicles were processed. In Pralle on that same day, 4 individuals were arrested, 4 males were arrested for breach of the curfew order, and 2 females were arrested for possession of controlled drugs. A total of 359.7 pounds of controlled drugs were recovered during the search of a motor vehicle. These females have since been charged and are currently remanded in custody. They are Roberta Prudent, alias Betty Clark, and Nadej Suffering. Okay. During this period, we could see that we had a total of 73 persons arrested for violating the curfew order, and 8 other persons were arrested for other serious offenses across the island.
Thank you very much for that update, Acting Corporal and Joseph of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, giving us an update on law enforcement efforts, arrests, vehicles processed at the various checkpoints for the zones in the last week. Do stay tuned. You are watching the afternoon, the midday update of the COVID-19 response report. When we come back, we hear from the Acting Commissioner of Police, Milton, Desir, on some of the most outstanding arrests and interventions of law enforcement in the last week. Stay tuned.
Because of how quickly the coronavirus spreads, each new case calls for increased public vigilance. Know what is happening, understand why, and comply. Think of the protocols as war tactics. Personal protection tactics. Keep 6 feet away from others. Avoid riding the bus, gathering on beaches, in bars and shops. Public protection tactics. Quarantine yourself if you feel fluish in case you have been exposed. Call 311 or a respiratory clinic for advice. Country tactics. Partial lockdown. Supermarkets, small grocers, pharmacies and ATMs are accessible before curfew. Total lockdown. Everywhere stays closed 24/7 for a stipulated period. Team tactics. Don't only follow the protocols. Be a protocols police. Let's win this.
Together let us win this war. St. Lucia be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
St. Lucia ka registre vermin corona. Ek I ka fait mouvement ek an chay vitesse tan, chaque canef ka kouye pour vigilance publique la, fait wolo, parler en place publique, kon bol en main, base, ti boutique, changer, distance sociale, 6 pieds, hod yon a lot, I ka travay tan, si ou senti ko pa cordial, quarantine ko, patwe en contact epi lot, en ka ou te toape exposé. Si an ekouye, free 11 obe n'importe clinique yo pou yo. Le pays a dimi a clé, ça vle di, les supermarkets, pharmacie epi ATM, yo accessible avant c'était souhait. Pays a clé en plein, ça vle di tout bagay fermé à 24 heures. Servi protocole comme sorti par bureau indication santé. Nous tout ensemble, ça sauver vermine corona. Si nous tout servi jidla à toutes les.
Together let us win this war. St. Lucia be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. We continue with our programming for the afternoon, the midday report to St. Lucia's COVID-19 response on island. We just want to continue with the Acting Commissioner of Police, Milton, Desir. Of course, we heard just yesterday during a handover ceremony, we heard word from the Acting Commissioner on the detention and the quarantining of 2 individuals after it was found out that they had entered St. Lucia, they had entered our borders illegally. We're going to hear about this in just a moment, but just to give you an update, we also heard news just now from the Acting Corporal and Joseph on the individuals violating the curfew order, having a river lime, and we just want to engage the Acting Commissioner today on these outstanding incidents in the last week. A special good afternoon to you, Acting Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Jesse. Good afternoon, listeners. Yes.
Okay. The Prime Minister, the Honorable Alan Chasney, did express his disappointment with the news that 2 individuals had been found out to have entered the country illegally, and it almost seems to be, when you look at the efforts of the frontliners and everybody pitching in to ensure that that everybody does their part, hold themselves accountable. It's a little, it's a letdown sort of when we have individuals coming into our borders not confirmed and so on. Can you give us some details on that incident, as well as the significance of it in terms of trying to thwart the efforts of officials?
Yes. Over the weekend, we received information that 2 persons had come in illegally. We also receive information most times that, strange individuals are seen in a particular area, or persons that were known to be overseas here. So our response team would respond to all of those reports. And in responding to the reports on the 1st of May, they were able to capture 2 individuals who we believe or suspected to have entered the country illegally. Of course, we would carry out our investigations, and based on our findings, we would determine whether that was a fact. So, in fact, 2 persons were brought in, and as you are aware, as the protocol dictates, these persons need to be in quarantine. So those individuals are in quarantine for the 14-day period, after which we would be doing with the charging and so on of those individuals for offenses they may have committed. Of course, one being the breach of the order, number 2, breaching immigration rules and so on. So these persons will be dealt with as soon as they have gone through the quarantine. I must say that it is of, I would say this is one of the cases that it's of concern to us. When I say cases, not this particular one, but persons entering illegally. And I think that is being facilitated by the boats, the fishermen. And I know that the borders were open for them to go out fishing. They laid down certain protocols and so on for them to fish. However, they take that opportunity, because you know that persons need opportunity to commit crime, and that is one of the opportunities that they get. Since they are out there, then they would be doing things other than fishing, and that gave rise to the drugs that were caught at the borders, because these were drugs that came in and so on. So in as much as the country is being open to facilitate business, to facilitate persons getting what they want, but persons are using that opportunity to commit crime. And that is why the police, I must say, are vigilant in that sense. So we, in as much as we are policing COVID-19, we also policing criminal activities. Yes.
Okay, understood. Can you tell me where these 2 individuals were detained? Where are they from?
Okay, these individuals were, they are from the Vieux Fort North area, and they were found in among other persons, but some of these individuals ran upon noticing that the police were in the area. However, these individuals who had made contact with those persons, if known, we still have to bring in these persons in to be quarantined and checked. And that is one of the things that we are urging persons. If you know that you are in contact, you have made contact with somebody that may have shown signs or symptoms, or somebody that has brought in, you need to bring up yourself so that you could be dealt with. We have persons coming in Martinique, Matnik also, and these persons, we know that Matnik was is an infected area, so persons coming in from Matnik we do not know, and as it has been said before, it's not written on anybody's faces that who has, who do not have the virus. So we are asking persons to be careful, especially if you are harboring those persons. You know that the person, we know that persons would be happy that they have they are in receipt of persons, their relatives who were away, and would welcome them, but it is risky because you do not know what the person brings along with them. Yes, so we are urging persons to stop. As soon as this happens, they need to report it. Forget about the arrest and charge, but that is left for the police to do. But in attempt to be safe, please report that you have seen persons who have come in from a country so that we could deal with those individuals safely.
I take a look at the stats presented by Corporal Joseph. I see 2nd May, 16 persons cautioned for breaking the curfew. 3rd May, 50 persons cautioned for violating the curfew. If you could just speak to this cautioning, and pray tell, is it a lessening of the punitive measures being taken by the force?
No, in general, cautioning is not lessening the measures. There would be instances, and every situation would differ. Probably an officer on patrol may meet a group of individuals, 10 or so, and then they would be directed to return home, go home, or if they may have been late from coming from work. So you would use that opportunity to warn these individuals, let them know that they should not do this, they should be in, and so on. And that too goes into our community, in as much as that the community policing aspect that we do. However, when one is cautioned, like the ancillary incident, those persons, it's not that that is it for them.
Okay.
On the day in question, because of the numbers, we could not have detained everybody because of social distancing. Again, if you were to put everybody 6 feet apart at a cell, we would not have cells to have those individuals detained. So what they would do is to caution them, and that caution is informing them that they will be prosecuted for the offense that they have committed. So instead of charging them at the time and then to bring them up for bail, they would be processed, the case is lodged in the court, and a summons would be issued for them to return to court on a particular day. These persons are all from ancillary, they are all known to the police, so when this is done, the police would now serve them with a warrant for a court date. So it serves the same purpose as being arrested.
Understood.
Yes.
And included
In fact, if I may add, the only persons that were just sent away was the, as I said, the minors. That those on the 12 decide, okay, you went there with somebody, I don't think it was on their own, somebody took you there, we took that into consideration and just free the minors.
I was coming to that, because this river line, we had children. Is there any facility for the force to say, well, you know, the kids were at this river line, who do we hold accountable for these kids being exposed?
Yes, actually the parents would be responsible for the minors in the sense, but for that situation and for that instance, we allowed the minors just to go free. So it's not like the parents would be charged for the minors; they would be charged based on their own self being present. And I would like to make reference to the curfew orders, which says that there shall not be any parties, no parties, no river line, no beach parties, and so on. And persons need to obey the curfew order. And it is, as I said, any disobedience to that order, it is 6 months imprisonment or $1,000 or both. So persons need to be aware of that.
Okay, and we see regular crimes are still being committed. The two females arrested for possession of controlled drugs on the 4th of May, as well as the search of residents in Vesikwe, Grosely, and Sarat. Crime still continues.
Yes, crime still continues amidst it, although generally, I must say, during that period, the curfew period, that there has been a decrease, significant decrease in crime. However, we still have persons who take the opportunity to commit crime. And I must say that one of the opportunities taken was with those individuals having a curfew pass. Right. So if you are a curfew pass, officers would allow you through the checkpoints and after questioning. So I think that was one opportunity persons used. But I must commend the officers for being diligent and was able to identify those persons, and during the stop were able to search them and then and get these drugs in the vehicle.
Do we see any consideration being made to review these passes that have been issued so far?
Yeah, I think I've had dialogue with NEMO, the other ones issuing the passes. I think now it's they are being a little tight. I'm not saying that they were not tight before, but when the passes, every persons were coming in asking for passes for various things, especially when the curfew order was just passed. Persons need to finish business at their particular workplace. They need to open up and so on, so persons would be issued passes for that. Also, what we realize is that during the feeding program, vehicles were being hired, or individuals were hired to do the feeding, so they were issued passes for that particular feeding day. And persons take the opportunity to continue going through the checkpoints and curfew with those passes. So I think I must commend the NEMO for that. Now they are giving letters, so they are giving permission. For example, if you have if you are to work 2 days down from Castries to Vieux-Fort on a project or something, they would give you permission for the 2 days in writing, so officers would see that you have permission to go, so it would not be valid for after
beyond
that. So that is one of the things. So I think there was learning from the issuing of the general pass, where you have a NEMO pass and then you could go through the checkpoints with your pass. Yes.
Okay. Any final words as we wrap up this interview?
Yes. Just urging persons to be responsible, especially with the curfew orders, the safe distancing protocols, the protocol of wearing your mask, especially when you are in public. These things, the washing of the hands, using the hand sanitizers, and it would appear that now some persons are being responsible and doing that, but some persons believe that the country is open and then they are going about business like it was usual, and then you could see it with the traffic.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like it's an ordinary day without school. That's what I take it to be. That's what you see on the road. Also, I must indicate that we are getting numerous reports of persons burning bushes and garbage. And this, especially now, since we're in the dry season, these things could get out of control and then burn an entire area. Also, it is detrimental to the health of individuals. We have persons who, in a residential area, they are making charcoal. And these things burn overnight for weeks and so on. And we usually get reports of that. So we have teamed with the fire service, the police officers. Whenever that report is made, the fire service would be sending a crew. Their police officers go there and then put it out. But I think the time now has come, because it is an offense to do that, both under the criminal code, and I think the fire service has the act too, so that persons will be prosecuted if they cannot understand and behave themselves.
Thank you very much for that update this week. Our regular weekly update from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Much appreciated, Acting Commissioner.
Yes.
Well, that's all the time we have for now for this afternoon's the midday report, the COVID-19 response from the Information Command Center. You're hearing from the Royal St. Lucia Police Force that two individuals have been detained and quarantined for illegal border entry, and that was on the 1st of May, as well as a cautioning to up to 50 persons for violating the curfew order, and that is the video, confirmation for the video that we've seen circulating all over social media of persons walking through the streets of Ancillary after a supposed river lime. So these confirmations coming from law enforcement. It's all the time we have for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Every time we go live on NTN, live from the GIS studios, my name is Jessie Leonce, signing off for now, but we encourage you, we hope you could stay tuned for more NTN programming. Goodbye.